what's going on? It's Preacher. We're doing some Frost DK. I'm doing this after I've done the dungeon run, and I tell you what, did I have a good time. So you should look forward to that dungeon run especially. We're going to do everything today. We're going to go through your talents, your reforges, your gemming, your rotation, all that kind of good stuff, because the Frost DK is an unstoppable, and the word that I could not stop using during the video was relentless. They are absolutely relentless. Such a good class. I just love the design, and they haven't changed it much since Cataclysm either, which makes them even better. So if you're just joining the game, or you've been playing for a while and you're thinking, I just want to try out that Frost DK, good for you, man. Good for you, because this is well worth your time. I recommend you get your DK up to scratch and try out everything about it, because it's a wonderful class. It's such a good place. Let's talk about it. We are Frosty. That's right, we get Frost Strike instead of our Death Coil or our Rune Strike. We get Howling Blast, which everybody knows just nuclear detonates the world. We get Obliterate, which is our way of using Unholy and Frost runes. And we also get Pillar of Frost, our big DPS cooldown, increasing our strength by 20%. And a 1 minute cooldown. That's right, a 1 minute DPS cooldown, which again just puts Frost in a position to cope with any and all situations. It's one of those classes where Simcraft says, you know, straight up, it's Unholy may be pulling ahead, and currently Frost is the top spec, the dual wield, the two-handed Frost spec, I should say, is in the best situation. But we might get moments where it's like Simcraft saying, you know what, Howling Unholy is slightly better. That's just one of those things where common sense comes in and says, you know what, Frost is actually better in this fight for a number of reasons. Ranged AoE like that, Unholy just can't cope with it. 1 minute DPS cooldowns like Pillar of Frost. Always be aware that the utility that comes from the Frost class in coping with any and all situations just comes in so far ahead that you have to take that into account when you're deciding which spec is best for me. Let's talk about our talents. We get a nice way of generating runes and diseases with our first one. Now, Rolling Blood is pretty cool, or Roiling Blood. Your Blood Boil ability now also triggers Pestilence and strikes a disease target. Now, the big thing about Frost is the diseases are not a key source of damage. They're a superior source of damage. There's no doubt about that. They're not having diseases on. But the main thing about diseases is that it's going to buff our Obliterate and Frost Strike. That's the big crux of the diseases. Therefore, we tend not to use things like Pestilence. Whereas Unholy gets so much more benefit from disease damage. With Frost, it's more about making sure we're using the correct abilities at the right time. Diseases are there to buff our other abilities. Therefore, we're not really going to be blood boiling or pestilencing. Unholy Blight, again, falls into the same trap. While it is brilliant for spreading diseases amongst tons and tons of mobs, and it doesn't cost us anything to do that, we don't care too much about our diseases. One of the things about this is if you check these, no diseases on. If I was to Howling Blast these, our Howling Blast applies Frost Fever, so 50% of that benefit from Unholy Blight and Rolling Blood is all coming from simply pressing our AoE spell we're going to be pressing anyway, so we don't need the benefit of that. What we do like is Plague Leech. It draws forth the infection from an enemy, consuming your blood and plague and frost fever diseases on the target to activate a fully random depleted rune as a death rune. Now you might say, that's doing no damage and sucking the diseases off my target, Preacher. It's very cleverly designed. With Outbreak and the fact that we do have to use our Plague Strike in order to get our diseases on, we can suck these diseases off the target and we can reapply them via damage, via Howling Blast, and then we also have a rune available to reapply either with Plague Strike, and every minute we'll have Outbreak, which means we just generate extra runes. So you're going to get a nice DPS buff from practicing your Plague Leech. What you want to be doing is using Plague Leech just as your diseases are about to wear off. Just as that Blood Plague is about to wear off. Remember, we're going to get Rime procs, which means we get free Howling Blast. So you should have no issue keeping Frost Fever on. So you time Plague Leech when Blood Plague's about to run off. Oh, Blood Plague's about to go. Plague Leech it off. Come on. Oh, it didn't work. Whatever. You Plague Leech them off, and then you get an extra rune benefit from that. And with the combination of Outbreak, which is free, then we get extra runes to cast things like Obliterates, which is just the godly source of DPS. The next one is entirely up to you. Leech Bomb if you're PvPing. Anti-Magic Zone is generally considered the best for raiding. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you think is going to benefit you, it doesn't matter. DPS increase is non-existent on this one. The next one is a DPS increase, which is Death's Advance. A passive 10% movement speed increase is always a DPS increase, ballers. Always. It means we can just absolutely get to our targets faster. The tank moves, we can get there quicker. We've got a target switch, we can get there quicker. It's a DPS increase. And movement impairing effects may not reduce you below 70% of normal movement speeds. You can also activate this. It's a spell. And when activated, you gain 30% movement speed and may not be slowed by below 100% of normal movement speed for 6 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. So we get on-demand sprint that we can fire off. And it's just so cool. It costs us nothing. And we get this movement speed. Zoom, zoom. Get used to using it, guys. Death's Advance, an absolute winner. The next one is some sort of healing ability. Conversion is okay, but it costs us Runic Power, which is a DPS loss. Death Siphon costs us a rune, DPS loss. Death Pact costs us absolutely nothing. It drains vitality from an undead minion, healing the Deathknight for 50% of his maximum health. This is glorious. This is what you want to get keybinded. You want to get that heal on the case because it's so useful, guys. Get your Death Pact. That's going to cost you anything. It's wonderful. Now, this one's always one of debate. Which one is better in the next tree for generating runes? Runic Corruption was something we were very interested in as a Frost DK when we came into Mists of Pandaria. It was previously considered very much more powerful than it was than Runic Corruption. However, the math, and I'm going with the math here, Runic Corruption tends to be the winner in this for Frost, okay? When you land a damaging Death Coil, Frost Strike, or Rune Strike, you have a 45% chance to activate a random fully depleted rune. This works really well for Frost. They're slightly ahead, but it works really, really nicely with those Killing Machine procs that can come up at random times. We need that rune now, not in a few seconds from Runic Corruption. And with Blood Tap, it's an extra management that Frost just doesn't need to roll with. It doesn't need that extra sort of management because it's a nice, relaxing, brutal spec. Very much, you feel a lot like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. You really do. You're brutal, you're methodical, and you never, ever stop. You're unstoppable. And with Runic Empowerment, you're definitely going to feel the benefit of that. The next one, again, is some sort of CC ability. Now, Gorfine's Grasp is becoming particularly handy for Will of the Emperor. You've also got Remorseless Winter, which looks absolutely astonishingly badass. We love that. And you've got Desecrated Ground. Now, again, no major DPS increase unless these mobs are spread out everywhere. They're all over the place, in which case you can Gorfine's Grasp them. And then you can Howling Blast the crap out of them. Gorfine's Grasp can be a DPS increase with a lot of spread out mobs that you need to gather. And you need to DPS those bad boys down. Very cool. So be aware of that one. Very, very nice. Let's talk about our glyphs. Glyphs aren't amazing for the Frost DK in terms of DPS increase, which is okay, which is fine. One thing I will notice, the ones I want to recommend to you are Dark Simulacrum. If you can get used to using Dark Simulacrum, it can be a very large DPS increase. I had some nice 100k fireballs and stuff flying around for the cost of a Dark Simulacrum, which is pretty nice. It reduces the cooldown by 30 seconds, which is immense, and increases its duration by 4 seconds. If you're a raider, though, you're generally going to be thinking, can I use Dark Sim on this fight? If you can't, this glyph is utterly useless to you, but there isn't much better choices. Glyph of AMS is always nice, just giving you an increased survivability. A dead DPS is a bad DPS. While you're rolling in your 5-mans, though, I want to make you very aware of Glyph of Tranquil Grip. Your Death Grip spell no longer taunts the target, is a wonderful grip. Just to help those tanks out. We like helping our tanks out. We love helping our tanks out. And Glyph of Army of the Dead. The Ghoul Summon no longer taunt the target. Taunting the target just screws up the vengeance of your tank and generally is just no good. We want Army of the Dead for the DPS. That's what we want. Army of the Dead is a brilliant source of DPS. This glyph should have been in the game since originally glyphs existed. My god, the amount of DKs I see taunting bosses, screwing up tank DPS, which is no laughing matter these days. It really isn't. Get your Glyph of Army of the Dead and you're going to be in good shape. Really cool. Let's talk about your stats. In essence, it depends on if you're dual wielding or two-handing. Now, two-handing is the best, and you want to be rolling in Frost Presence. Okay, you want to be rolling in Frost Presence. You want to be focusing heavily on haste. Similar to the old stats, haste, crit. Your worst stat as a two-handed DK is mastery, okay? Now, that changes if you're dual wielding. If you're dual wielding, it is mastery ahead of haste. But you shouldn't be dual wielding yet. You should not be dual wielding yet. One thing you will notice is that I am rolling on a fully PvP geared character. That's okay. That's the gear this guy has. That's no big deal at all. We're rolling with full PvP gear, and I'm still going to be smashing the DPS to pieces because the Frost DK, not only, it's not about straight up numbers, it's how they cope with situations. And in a fully PvE geared Frost DK, you should be destroying, my friends. Absolutely destroying. But the gear is not bad. A 461 item level, always very cool. You want to get your hit and expertise cap first of all. Okay, first of all, you want to get your hit and expertise caps. Then you want to focus on haste. And then you want to buff your crit. Reforge off any mastery you can get. When it comes to your gemming, you want to use the Meta Gem that gives you the most strength, which is 216 strength and 3% increased crit effect. You can see that there. And then depending on your set bonuses, if you get a really nice bonus, you want to be gemming either pure strength or strength haste, or something along those lines, okay? They're all listed in the back there. That's what you want to be aiming for. Your reforging is very easy. Get as much hit and expertise so you cap, and don't try and go too far over because it's useless when it goes over. And then you want to get as much haste and crit as possible, okay? Very, very easy. Very, very nice. Have fun with it. Really good. Let's talk about our rotation. Rotation is really cool for the Frost DK. You want to get your diseases up either by Outbreak, and then you want to start using these runes up. Now, when you use these runes up, you're going to start generating runic power. And you're going to get things like Rhyme procs there. Now, you can see, look at the runic empowerment, firing off more runes. Now, there's a lot of things saying, hey, you want to focus your killing machine procs. This is a Rhyme proc, this one here. This means I have a free Howling Blast. Awesome, which is obviously making sure I keep my Frost Fever up. This is Killing Machine, which means my next Frost Strike or Obliterate is going to be a critical strike. So if I Obliterate now, boom, 141k. Soul Leech those off like I was trying to show you. Get that free rune back and get back to there. So for single target rotation, people always wonder, should I use my Killing Machine procs on Frost Strike or Obliterate? There is a huge problem with Killing Machine procs, and that's they can proc while you're activating the spell. When that happens, you literally want to be of the opinion that I want to use whatever's best for me at the time. Trust me on this, I've done an advanced DK guide. You can check that on my channel, the advanced DK guide, and I go into detail on why this works. I have attained world first DPS records on my DK via using this system, okay? All you want to do, the system is this. If you get a proc and you are aware of it and you're waiting for something, so like here I can't Frost Strike and I have a Killing Machine proc, then you should be using it on Obliterate as a two-handed Frost DK. Use it on Obliterate as much as possible. Now, Obliterate has a chance to cause us Rhyme procs. Now, the difference between using it on Obliterate or using it on Frost Strike is not big enough to make you spam that Obliterate through Killing Machines and waste potential Rhyme procs. That is a bad move to do. Now, we're going to use this situation. I've spammed a lot of Obliterates. Now my runic power bar is full. And let's see if I can proc a Killing Machine. There we go. And I have a Killing Machine. Everything in the books tells you to use that on Obliterate. But if you do that, you're going to waste runic power and potentially this Rhyme proc as well. What I would do is I'm going to Frost Strike that away. I'm going to use that Rhyme proc. Then I'm going to start Obliterating again. And there you go. Because that Obliterate just gave me another Rhyme proc. But by trying to stick to the numbers on your single target rotation of I must use Killing Machines on Obliterates, you're actually going to suffer a DPS loss. Trust me on this, it's going to happen, guys. That's what will happen. The way the Frost DK works is very much like that. I could spam a lot of Obliterates now, but I don't want to. I want to use this runic power up. That's DPS I'm not using. Then I want to go back to my Obliterate when it's safe and I'm not going to cap my runic power. That's when I want to use it. Always be aware, you can see what's happening here. Every time I Obliterate, there is a chance I'm going to get a Rhyme proc. So don't be too spammy. Don't be too spammy with your Frost DK. You're going to have a lot of things to press a lot of the time. You just want to be very much aware that, hey, Obliterate can give me a free Howling Blast. If I start sitting on Rhyme procs and spamming Obliterate, I'm losing Howling Blasts. If I have a full runic power bar, I'm just letting my runes regenerate here to show you. If I have near full runic power, like there, and I have runes to use this Obliterate, this is the perfect situation. I have a nearly full runic power bar and a Killing Machine. The books tell me to use this on Obliterate, but if I do that, watch what happens. My runic power caps, and I have now lost potential DPS. The trick to it, honestly, is keep a track of your runic power. Use it up. Keep it around 60. 60 runic power is good shape. 60 runic power means you're not likely to cap in the next couple of hits, and therefore you can use any ability you want to do and keep your Howling Blast on cooldown. So for single target, guys, Go ahead, keep your diseases up. Remember to be soul plague leeching them just when your blood plague is about to wear off. Your frost fever should never wear off. And then reapply those diseases quickly and then go back into your normal rotation. If you're below 35%, be aware of your soul reaper, granting you a ton of haste to spam even more abilities. AoE. AoE is just, it's easy. If you've got more than 2 mobs, just get your Death and Decay down and start spamming that Howling Blast. Now, a lot of people do this wrong in terms of, I don't need Unholy Runes because they don't cast Howling Blast, right? And Howling Blast wins the day. You want to be using them. Why? Because these buff your Frost Strikes. So when you're Frost Striking, waiting for runes to come up, you want to be making sure those Frost Strikes are as powerful as they could possibly be. Because you're going to get a ton of Killing Machine procs. And in between times, spread out your plague, Blood Plague with those Unholy Runes. Get them used. Either use them on Death and Decay, and keep spreading them around. Every time you get a Death Rune or a Frost Rune, sure, Howling Blast. But use up your runic power. Use it up. Your priority is Howling Blast. Your next priority is Frost Strike. But get those Unholy Runes used. Don't sit on them. A lot of people just wait for their Howling Blast to come back. You're losing a lot of DPS on your Frost Strike by not having Blood Plague and Frost Fever up. Don't bother pestilencing. You're going to have a lot of Unholy Runes. You're going to have a lot of Unholy Runes that you don't know what to do with. Spread out your Blood Plague. The Blood Plague is still doing damage. 10k damage there over 3 hits. It's still extra damage. And more importantly, it's buffing those Frost Strikes that you're going to be using to proc Runic Empowerment. There it is. That Runic Empowerment comes from Frost Strikes to get more runes to do more Howling Blasts. It's a wonderful synergy. Okay? It's a real wonderful synergy. So let's jump into a 5-man now and show you all these kind of things in action. Alright, ballers? Let's go.